Hello, and we begin our panel discussion on creative economy. I understand that it's Friday. Thank you for finding time to participate. So please put on the screen the first speaker, the first guest, and it's going to be Victoria Yarmoshchuk, who is the CEO of FILM.UA. Give a round of applause. It's not the round of applause. Thank you. Svitlana Bevza, designer, owner, and creative director of Bevza, creative brand. Our next guest came to us from Romania. Jorg Riommi, who is the main creative director of Publicis Groupe, was responsible not only for Romania but also for Central and Eastern Europe. Give a round of applause. Also, I'm happy to invite here the best name. Andriy, Khudo, the co-owner and head of the Supervisory Board of iFest, Emotion Fest. And I am Andriy Fedorov. I represent Fedorov Company. So what we talk about? We're going to talk about the state of things in creative economy and how this economy is changing and developing in Ukraine. I'd like to start with some good news. Because in many discussions, there's, people look for conflict, they look for polarization. Of course, we're going to have that, but I wanted to say that I received some data from the Ministry of Culture of Ukraine, which formally is responsible for creative sector. And what the data show us, that creative economy is growing very rapidly. And if you look at the input of creative economy, at least over 2019, in the value added, then it was 4% of general value added in Ukraine, and it's 117.2 billion hryvnia. I think that deserves a round of applause for creative economy. If you're interested, who did this wonderful contribution? First place is the revenues from computer programming revenues, which generated 43%. Next is advertising agencies. They created 12%, followed by consultancy on informatization, digitization, TV and broadcast, 9%, and so on and so forth. I think it's great news, but it's too narrow a sampling. Because if you look at the modern creative industry, it's much wider than just an IT or advertisement or just literature or even theater. I think creative industries even propagate in those spheres that are not traditionally believed as creative, like food or hospitality, etc., that only create value added when they become creative. So I'm happy that we have people from different segments, and I would ask you all first question: what your company is facing now, what are the challenges of this season, the next year, and what do you think is the most important trend in your industry? FILM.UA, you begin. It's hard to begin the first one, but let me begin. When I prepared for this forum, I looked through some numbers and figures, and there's a study conducted on one of the profile ministries in Ukraine, which measured the distribution of inputs of a particular creative industry into general GDP. And the sector that I represent, and I represent production of audiovisual content, constitutes 17% of this now. What does it mean? It means that people who live in this sector, and the product that the sector generates has this kind of input. Our group of companies is not just Film.UA, it's a big creative hub on Treshino district. It's a big movie studio, one of the biggest film studios in Europe. We do everything that has to do with audiovisual art, from advertisement to films, movies, animation. Talking about challenges. Of course, there are a lot of them. Not to narrow it down to just our industry. What unites me with my colleagues maybe is that we all compete for free time and personal space that people have. Either they choose to buy something, to go to a restaurant, or to use other creative industries. And this struggle is getting sharper and sharper. We feel it in our narrow segment as international streamers get more and more active and cover and conquer the hearts and minds of viewers, and also opportunity. We see how streamers actively develop in Ukraine. And if we talk about challenges, of course, we all want, and my colleagues will agree, we want our citizens, our viewers, our customer to choose something Ukrainian. And in order to do that, the Ukrainian content has to be competitive with international counterparts. We're trying to generate content that will compete. So we have our product on Netflix, Amazon, and other streaming services. But that's not enough, and we believe that Ukraine has the level of creativity that deserves not only attention but respect. And they will have to vote with their time and their attention. So we want to collaborate with other creative industries. What is that? What do I mean practically? Like prima ballerina of KIEF opera, Katerina Kuchar, was the prototype of the heroine of our cartoon Mavka that will soon be launched. We filmed, we made a movie, Borscht, which popularized the dish throughout the world. Ukrainian designers are designing the props for our films, etc., and production. So this unity of different parts of creative industries, it's where everybody wins. And for us, the goal of this discussion today would be to find how we can join in but achieve more on our market, international market. I can talk about examples, but I think we'll get back to that. So what project nowadays for Film.UA is the most important for the next subsequent year? You know, whenever I call it now, I don't think it will be encouraged. So the best so far is Mavka Lisova Pisna, is animation, Lisa Ukrainka, which is currently the essence of our attempts to unite as many Ukrainian narratives and creative industries in one place. Thank you. Great. Svitlana. Thanks a lot for the opportunity to speak today. So what I would like to start with, this kind of powerful event, the fact that the designers are here from creative industries, they say that there's a general large-scale understanding that fashion in Ukraine has gone outside the kindergarten. And if we talk about some main players in this industry, you all need to understand that it's above €1 million turnover per year. The biggest challenges for us, why it's necessary for creative industries to unite, because by doing so, It's easier to showcase your talent. It's easier to showcase the benefits for our legislators, let's say, for our politicians to pay attention. Because creative industries in Ukraine has huge potential. In fact, potential and development and the main revenues from abroad. Because as a representative of textile industry and the fashion industry, I can tell you that as jobs are created in Ukraine and demand is created, a lot of foreign companies get interested if we talk about business. But the biggest challenge is, in truth, that's what you asked for the industry. In my case, is scaling up. Because geometrical progression, the demand is growing. And it's being shaped from foreign market. We wanted to develop Ukrainian market, but that's not only up to us. We work in certain segment, in luxury segment, so the pricing is very logical from the production cost and with the market niche. Unfortunately, in Ukrainian market there is no such capacity. There is demand, but there's no buying capacity. And the buying capacity depends on different parts of economy, the average salary. But in terms of creative industry, let me stress that the potential is still huge. There are a lot of foreign companies coming to us to order some movies, videos. Ukraine is a great basis to do these things, highly professional, great footages. And foreign companies that produce clothes like Prada or Tot, they manufacture parts of their shoes in Ukraine, and then later they export them furthermore to a factory officially to Prada and Tots in Italy, and then they assemble the shoes. So there is demand on that, and it can go up, and that will increase investments in Ukraine if for creative industry, for textile, there will be some discount in terms of preferential treatment in terms of logistics, export, import, and taxation for commodity imports. Because let's say we work with high-tech fabrics, and we buy them abroad because the kind of raw materials are not produced here, like recycled bottles, plastic bottles. And we pay a lot of added value to import that. Well, I started out, you see, talking about creativity, but business side of it. The main challenge is properly scaling up, because there's huge potential. Creative industries are very potent, and one of the first places in Forbes is Arnaud with LVMH concern, and it's been so for quite a while, because the potential of this market, even if you go to recycled materials, even if you go to high tech, and the change of the concept of consumption in fashion, that's going to be first places, so large scale. So Ukraine has a big potential in this regard. Thank you, Andriy. Greetings, everybody. Our HoReCa industry, our industry is probably suffered the most from COVID storm. But as I see in 2020, it was a shock for everybody. Most places, most players in the world have remained on the market, have stayed, and that deserves a lot of respect to their resilience. So the challenge is that when you're banned from working, we never had this in the business model, that we have a ban on work. There was no risk that you are banned from activity. You were planning what you did, who you paid salary, all the operational, but here is suddenly the new challenge. And when the first shock came, and we and our colleagues, we were prevented from work, and instead of Horeca, we started sewing masks, because masks were in short supply. And then we lived through 2020, and then 2021 shows that, at least in our system, it goes above 2020. So the industry tackled this, successfully tackled this hit. Some concepts were ending, new concepts emerging, so the industry lives and continues and plans. What's the biggest challenge? I think you also face that challenge. It's people. People who used to work for us in the Horeca, they no longer have faith in that industry because it's not stable enough, not sustainable. So we have a huge migration from our industry into other industries. Like they go to work as delivery people and delivery service, because that's stable, stable income. Because nobody knows whether the restaurants will fire you. So these are the main challenges. Business model changes, and the personnel payments are growing. We have an inflation, which impacted the market. But still, what are the projects quickly survived the mono product, like Piana Vyshnya or Rebernia? They're here in Kiev, you can find them. In Piana Vyshnya, it's unique because you could have worked during the COVID. You could buy a bottle of liquor, and so at least this industry, that business survived. And passing the floor to a colleague, in the times of COVID, we set a goal. We can't just sit and cry. We have to move. If Piana Vyshnya can sell, let's open similar restaurants. And in Romania, in Poland, over the time of COVID, we opened over 10 of our mono-product formats. Now, in autumn 2021, which of your formats are the most successful? Well, we have this block of leaders, successful. So from the most recent formats is what I said, Piana Vyshnya and Rebernia, ribs and cherry drinks. It's been successful for more than 10 years. It's Kryivka and Lviv Kopalnya Kavy, Lviv chocolate workshop. This format is great. And so, you know, if it hits you, but it's natural selection for formats. A month or two, and you bounce back, and you come back to.
I don't speak very well Ukrainian. Actually, I don't speak Ukrainian at all. So pardon my English with heavy Italian accent. And to your question, like, what is a half Italian, half German working out of Bucharest and coordinating the region, doing at the Economic Forum in Kiev? No?
No, I know you want to promote your agency. You have your logo on the cap.
No, but I mean, like, that's my usual cap. I use it all the time. But no, the idea is the fact that being Italian years ago, like maybe now 15 years ago, I decided to move to Romania and to make it my hub because I believe in the power of Central and Eastern Europe, and I believe that this is where the next things will happen in the next 10, 15 years, if not more. So working for Publicis Group,
Can I ask why?
why I came to Romania.
No. Why you think that things will happen right here, this coming
This is
10,
another
15
very
years?
good question. You do good questions. I like that. I think because everything is new, to be frank. So coming from Western Europe, I've seen a lot of luggage coming from the past. You have to deal with what happened with previous generations, with your fathers, with your grandfathers, and some things remain old, don't evolve. While here, especially in Romania, after 1990, there was no past. Everything was new and happening. So basically what happens now, at least in Romania, but I guess it's the same here and many other Central European countries, the country is in the hands of a younger generation that makes things happen. Also because there is not a heavy past that burdens them. I don't know, making a confrontation with Italy, the political class average age is maybe 65, 70 years old. So you can imagine what kind of innovation spirit they have. So I think here there is more potential to make things happen. And actually I came with a plan coming from my boss in London back in the day to really put on the map Central and Eastern Europe for the group. So obviously we are an advertising agency, but we're much more than that. And what is happening these days, so we have classic brands like Saatchi & Saatchi, Leo Burnett, Publicis, Starcom, Zenith. And what we are now doing, basically, I supervise the creative product for 15 countries, including Ukraine, Romania, Poland, Russia, and a few more. And what my job actually is to keep the fire alive and make the fire bigger. That's how I like to describe my job. So the potential of ideas, bigger ideas, stronger ideas, and digital transformation is what we do.
What do you see as the main challenge for your company and your industry right now?
Bring people back to the office.
They don't.
Everybody likes working from home. No, I'm kidding. I mean, like, this is one of, it's not an issue, but it's something that is happening. Obviously, COVID impacted remote working heavily. And one of the problems with advertising, like other industry, you know, is the work-life balance. And obviously, if you cut out commuting times, for example, going to work, which in Kiev, I guess it's a big issue. No, those hours you can reinvest in work or in quality time, and this really helps. The biggest challenge, I mean, like, financial challenges we don't have at the moment because it's going very well thanks to especially the development in digital, e-commerce, data. We're pushing on these capabilities. So it's going well. We're growing, I don't know, plus 18%. So it's fine. I mean, like last year, the crisis really gave us a hit. But after, in autumn last year, we're already back on track. And this year, Q3 is going very well. Yeah, other than that, the challenges, I think there is fluctuations in talent. This is one of the things that we have to look. Obviously, the fragmentation of advertising and the opening to other fields, like, for example, gaming or IT, is very sexy for younger talent. So I have the challenge of really inspiring those people and coming out with better content so that they are, you know, find it fun and relevant and cool to stay and work in an advertising agency, you know? It's not 2005 anymore.
And not 1995, I would say.
Exactly.
Я хочу доповнити попереднього спікера. I agree.
I agree with you. What we see in creative industry, just a couple of things. First thing, for me personally, for our company, we changed the definition in general, what creativity means. 20 years ago, we perceived it as advertisement, graphic design, winning the festivals, etc. For me now, creativity is ability of each company to create something new, something unique in the conditions of extreme challenges of unpredictability on one hand and mad competition. Because you can't achieve success if you're just doing the basic things right that I taught in the business school. By doing basic things right, you just have a commodity. And nobody will give you additional margin. If you want to create additional value, you have to mix different creative disciplines together. Theater, music, fashion, food, in order to strengthen the impression of viewers, no matter what sphere you're working at. What you see now with our customers, I call it a war of everyone against everyone. If you think about it, in the shop Good Wine, they sell firewood, they sell tomatoes, they sell hamon, meats, and they're great quality. But, sorry, it's a wine shop. Why have they decided to sell tomatoes? Gas stations, our esteemed customer, Bog, they make great hot dogs, great coffee, and they become sellers of water, wines, books. We talk about Rosetka shop that has to sell home appliances. They're leaders in fashion segment. They're leaders in selling children's toys like Lego, and another category that's growing are alcohol, beverages. So in the conditions where everybody's doing everything, everything is possible then. There's nothing, no holds barred. And just a year ago, we invested into co-working, and we built co-working 578 places for the start of the pandemic. And I understand the restaurant owners, how they suffered when everything was closed. And the comments of my colleague from the Publicis that the office model is changing. I think the answer to your question, how to get people back to offices, will make great offices to be more exciting, to be more exciting to be at home, because younger people, 20, 30, 40, they want to be out of house and communicate, etc. You know, there are companies calling us, they have 80 employees, but they will be coming back, to office and back. 20 shifts, 20 office workers now, another 20 tomorrow. So for me, for Ukrainian creative industry, it's very important the question of exports, because our weakness, small salaries, become our strong point, because that leads to lower cost of creative product. And for me now, this pandemic has strengthened that. We are right now in federative agency, we have customers from Tashkent to Los Angeles, from Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan. They all perceive Ukraine as a sort of creative talent and intellectual expertise. They are ready to come here because it's much more understandable, this post-Soviet culture, than London and Berlin. They are afraid of them a little bit. But they are ready to pay in Ukraine much more. And I think that it's really a great challenge and an opportunity for Ukraine, how to strengthen it. So I would like to get back to the question mentioned by Victoria, the question of integration and synergy among different creative classes. Because I think what we all understand with our head is sad to admit, but the Ukrainian market is not worth it's not worth fighting with each other. It's too poor. The market cap in Ukraine, we talk about a couple of years ago, I compared Ukrainian advertising market and German, and the whole Ukrainian market was like a marketing budget of L'Oreal in Germany. So one company in Germany spends as much as all advertisers in Ukraine. And I think that it would be logical to unite, to help each other, in order to win over those 200 markets remaining. But it's not happening. And I can tell you that I'm talking to all kinds of people, architects, media people, etc. In every industry, there's this feud going on. Well, yeah, we're all together, but in fact, everybody's fighting against each other. And between the industries, I see some sympathy, but I don't see a full-fledged integrated cooperation. For instance, I don't know any roadshow in San Francisco or Berlin where fashion would have been presented together with restaurants or creative industries, and that's, the problem, I think. Why do you think it's not happening? And what has to happen in order for this to be more active? Victoria, let's start with you. Well, I think I want to believe that everybody's busy. But seriously, it's because we don't understand fully how it should be. And we don't have not enough great cases. As soon as 2 or 3 more cases come in, and we all understand that by uniting we did something that made a breakthrough, has become a serious event on the international market, then people will start doing it. So it would be great to have another meeting where we would think how to do that practically. So, you're all invited to cooperation because we believe that audiovisual content, movies, TV shows, that can be the link between creative industries. Because through emotions, we create not just movies, but emotions. We make stories. And now in every business school, they teach you how to tell stories. It's become a must-have. But you can tell a story through different media. Through fashion, through food, through music, other things. All of that is telling a story. And what we do can become a thing that unites. It's our dream. To invite other creative industries to us. And not that we are wanting to be leaders, but to use our opportunity as a universal thing, a universal glue. Because it's easy. You watch a movie, you see a design there, you hear music, you hear about some dish. And we invite people, international film groups, to come to Ukraine and shoot movies. They see Ukrainian monuments, the Ukrainian nature, they visit Ukrainian restaurants. They know more about our culture and bars as well. They also like bars, of course. Our history, our modern culture, which is great, but not many people know about it. So why it's not happening? Because we don't communicate enough. We don't think wide enough. That's one thing. Secondly, we don't have many cases still, and there's something else that I've just fell out of my mind. And thirdly, we don't think ahead. We don't think long enough perspective. Everybody's busy. You have to survive. You have to fight COVID, sell movies on Netflix. But if you don't build this brand of Ukraine on international market, if it's not going to be a large-scale thing, we will remain sitting. We need more understanding that not many people know about Ukraine in the world. And that's what we feel in our industry, and I'm confident that you have the same in yours, if it's about scaling up and reaching other levels. Svitlana? In my case, it's a different situation maybe. About the uniting of industry in fashion, let's say, my brand, it's happening. And I've stressed that, and I'm trying to make it happen more and more. And there are successful cases. Like, for instance, we're always shooting our campaigns or shows with Ukrainian filmmakers only. We always attract our models, photographers. Everybody knows that our models are one of the best in foreign fashion shows. Just like you'd take Ukrainian photographers, Tanya and Zhenya Pasternak, Jack Muse campaign, Sasha Samsonov, photographer who lives in LA and photographs the entire Kadashan family, and they make great movies. Or filmmaker Tanya Muni, who makes movies for Dua Lipa, etc. So they are great budget, foreign budgets, the same budgets that they pay to foreign filmmakers and stylists, etc. There's a pool of stylists who are well known all over the world, and the storytelling. What do we implement? Like during the pandemic, it was a great creative time for me to reassess some things. We went with our team of Ukrainian filmmakers and stylists. We went into the ancient studies, Tripilia. We wanted to show to the young generation in other countries of the world that historical heritage can be fashionable. The goal was for foreigners to start Googling, what is Tripilia? What is Ukraine? And to do it with visual language, no words even. So we worked not only with the entire industry, from directors to stylists, but we also worked with scientists because it was supported by National Archaeology Museum, archival documents, and when the documentary was launched and when the collection started, we had requests from all over the world. Even from the Union of Teachers in New Zealand, who were so interested in the Tripilia topic, they wanted to create a program in New Zealand. There are 800 people. So it works. And you have to trust more. Trust all segments of the industry. Because our service, I don't know who can complain against Ukrainian service and restaurant, but abroad in New York, they have a lot to catch up. We have great service in Ukraine and cleanliness of restaurants. So don't underestimate Ukraine. Great, thank you. I have a small question to the audience. Who has seen this project about Tripilia? Have you seen it? 3, 4. Okay, let me tell you a secret, a terrible thing. I don't know anything about it. And I think that's the thing that we have to tackle. That's the problem. Because I agree, in some industries there are fantastic things happening, and every week something is created, something incredible. But we're so rooted into the everyday activity and the challenges, etc., that often you don't have time or intent to look at it. No, it's just business. We're focused on countries where there's demand, where demand is growing, and honestly, it's my business. It's a thing that I love. It's my creativity, but alongside with that, we focus on markets that are potentially profitable. We don't invest in PR in Ukraine. Therefore, we focused on other countries, but we pay taxes here in Ukraine. Great, I understand. My point is, I understand your sentiment, but I think it's a mistake. What I mean, if we all see what's happening only in terms of pragmatics of businesses, we won't be able to develop it. Ukraine as an epicenter of creativity, because your example is so great that it's worth talking about, spreading the word. I'm not saying you have to spend bigger budgets on that, but I think it's the question of industry in the wider sense of the word. Why don't we know about it? Those are priceless things that you're doing. It's too bad that they're flying somewhere away. It's just that we're doing it in a longer way. Like Bevza, it's the only brand that is published on wall.com as the official member of Week of Fashion in Europe, member of CFDA. And that publication of millions of traffic, it reaches by a different circle in Ukraine. And even if it's better, it's better. Because then you will have better trust of our local Ukrainian market to our Ukrainian brands.
Sorry, I don't know if you were next in line, but this is very
No worries, no worries.
I don't know if we go in line.
We are polite in Ukraine. We are creative freedom. You can talk.
Thank you. No, but I wanted to build because otherwise, afterwards, maybe I cannot build anymore.
Please.
Okay, so I'll do it.
I hope you still can build.
I think she said the key word, confidence. So again, I come from Western Europe, but I'm Romanized because I've been there for 15 years. And what I noticed, and I think maybe might be the same problem in Ukraine, and I found this in Poland, I found this in Hungary, I found this in Serbia, is a problem of self-perception. I think, and it's an advice, and that's why I see amazing potential in the region, because it's a matter of developing that confidence that comes from self-perception, that your product here is not just as good as anywhere else in the world, but it's maybe even better. And this is something that maybe it will come with time, when the industries, creative industries will develop even more. For example, I mean, when I first started working with Ukraine some years ago, I was amazed by the design. Not necessarily fashion design, I'm talking more about graphic design and art direction. And there are some of the best art directors and designers in the world here, bar none. I mean, like, you can take a young kid here and put him in New York, and he will over-deliver. It will beat the talent there. It's really a feature that is here. Conceptual thinking in Romania, media and technology in Poland, and so on. There is such potential in the region that has to be tapped into and, brought to life. But it starts with self-perception and confidence. And this is something that I invite everybody just not to shy away and to think that outside is better. No, because you have to build it here because it's here. It's here already.
Look, I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. And I think that last maybe 5-7 years were the breaking point where we believe, because we know and we see that we are not trying to be copy-pasters. Yes, we are not trying to follow. We are really setting the bar, and we are really showing the level which is impossible in some other markets, in means of craft, in means of creativity. And our secret in Ukraine is passion. Yes, because we are really not like...
Passion and talent. There is a lot of talent.
Definitely.
Yeah. There is a lot of talent.
Andrew.
Я доповню...
I agree with what colleagues said, but I would add two things. Why there's still no unity? I think there's two factors here. We either unite before a threat, where everything's so bad that you have to unite or die, or great opportunities. When P&L is visible for everybody, then we unite, because P&L is going to become better. And the same with politicians. They behave the same way. But as an example about Lviv, back when the tourism united, after Euro 2012, we built a new airport in Lviv, and there was a question how to bring more passengers. Because if there's more tourists from the West, then the whole industry will make more money, hotels, restaurants, so on. And there was a campaign where all got together, restaurants, hotels, how to put Ryanair to Lviv. They went to meetings, they made flash mobs, everything, because they understood that they're going to make more money, all of them. What we have right now is some elements of threats, and they have to push us, the whole industry, to think about new concepts and new projects. Like, for instance, what's in our creative industry? Other than restaurants, you know, what schools do. The school of people who care. And if you go to Rebernio or Piana Vishna restaurant or any of our concept restaurants in Lviv, a grivnia from your check goes to opening a new school in Ukraine in the future. And when we modeled the schools, of course, values, but what we added from businesses. Other than teaching children to be creative and happy, we add coffee shops or bakery and Piana Vishna? No. So clothes for kids. So school starts uniting different industries, and that's how we move forward. Great, thank you. I can tell you that if we talk about uniting people, I think you said the right thing about talents. Like, we work on different markets now, and we're spoiled children, you know. For us, so many talented people is the norm, but it's not always like that, and it's not always everywhere like that. And we have to value that. I wanted to say one thing about uniting and unity. I made several attempts in different formats, in different industrial projects. And I think the story that we're all together, let's be united together and everything will be okay, it doesn't work like that. You know, lack of leadership in any project is the biggest barrier. So my subjective opinion is that the recipe, if we talk about uniting creative industries, the recipe is that everyone takes some project, like schools that Andriy does, or Tripilia project, or Mavka project, or any project, and will be moving this project forward, whereas other creative industries and so on will support them. Not just ignore that, not be passive about that. And I guess I wrote about that. We have to agree among ourselves who are those 1,000 people who we believe are truly creators and creators of this new Ukraine. I mean, we have no right to criticize each other so much. We have the right to support each other. It maybe sounds weird now, but if we go to theater improvisation, where the word no is banned, if we go into a brainstorm where the word no kills ideas, if we start saying yes to each other, that's going to be a great story. So let me tell you what we do. We relaunched the foundation of Darina Zholdak, which has been working for 9 years, supporting these events. We gave more than 150,000 books to village libraries. Now we understand that it's a little too narrow for this new world, and we think that the talent drain is our biggest challenge. If we talk about talents, then there are talents who move to other countries, and it is a challenge, but I see another one. Talents that are not developed here, talented children, teenagers, who, because there's no support, there's no understanding of adults, they are afraid to go into creative industries. They go into normal, quote-unquote, professions. Why we selected as priority for social activity in the next 10 years? We ordered big qualitative studies, survey. We surveyed through Kantar, 1,400 people, what they think about talents, what they think about creative industries, and just a couple of figures and numbers for you, because it's an interesting information. First of all, unfortunately, 53% of teenagers don't think themselves as talented. They underappreciate themselves. They say, creative industries, but you have to have talent. But that's a disputable number, because 47%, every second one of them believes themselves that as talented. So what impacts this perception? And the studies show that these people, nobody tells them they're talented or not. There is no support from others. There's no, nurturing environment that kills talent. Unfortunately.
Was telling about before?
Absolutely.
And some of these, 70% of these people, they think that yes, you can sell your talent in creative industries, but it's much more opportunities in other countries, and it's an important number. We have to see it as a risk. We talk about creative industries. What 5 main barriers are there for the teenagers to come work in creative industries? First, at least how they describe it, is financial problems, because some kids say, yeah, we are talented, but we simply don't have money to buy materials. Because physically, to create something we want to create. The second big barrier is lack of confidence in their talent. And that lack of confidence, it should not be underestimated. Next. Some people honestly say, we are lazy. We just don't want to bother. And fourth, they don't understand the way. Theoretically, they want to go into creative industries, but practically, if they're living somewhere in the small town or village, they don't have, they're orphans, let's say. Don't forget that there are a lot of children that are in critical life situations. There's a majority of them. They don't understand that. The way we see New York, Romania, the difference so much in what they see. So problems that they see is no tools. They have to be convinced. Some of them are closed up for the outside influence because they're traumatized. And 77% say they would like their kids to, go into creative industries, but they don't risk that. So what are our challenges? We have to convince that we are not only rich in, soils and wheats, etc., but it's talent. And we're doing several projects for that specifically. One of them, because there are many of them, is the project that I'm excited about. It's Talentopedia. What's it mean? We want to tell the teenagers and their parents about all creative industries available now. If I'm 12 years old, maybe I would go to advertisement or movies. What kind of thing you're going to do? Where do you apply yourselves? Producer, motion graphic artist, architect. And we want to create the story. It's going to be a website, a digital service. It's going to be free of charge. 3 clicks and the profession is showcased for you. Like you can see, what are the famous Ukrainian photographers? What do they do? What can they tell about this profession? How much this profession can generate as revenue? What skills should you have? Who should I follow on the Instagram? What are the best institutions in Ukraine or in the world there? And we would think that this information is too banal and it's available, but for teenagers, there are millions of them around. We want to make this way more accessible. So we created a hackathon, going to last through all October. Because weird for hackathon because they usually last a couple of days, so it's a month. And it's a fantastic 180 content volunteers who are making the first uploads of content in the first version of this Talentopedia. I don't want to go about doing it for years. We want to launch it this year, December. So if one of the ideas is to unite, you can make a donation here. I'm not even asking for money. You can invest some of your content there. About your profession, about your industry, people that inspire you. Just ask your PR service, the people you know, the teenagers you know, to make a contribution. And I think this project can be one of those examples how creative industry can create perception of Ukraine, which is different. It's a perception of creative state. We will create a chatbot to support talents. If there are teenagers who are talented but lack confidence, so we are writing a book right now with publishing house Staroholeva, which is talent, manual for application, how to find yourself, discover yourself in creative industry. It's stories of successful creative people from Ukraine to inspire people not to be afraid to choose talent. So a lot of things can be done. I would like to give the opportunity to all speakers to say a couple of words to summarize this discussion. Svitlana, please. Victoria, sorry. Thank you. I wanted to join in what's been said. People and talent, it's the biggest rich of our creative industry. So other than everything we said, supporting talent. So the market has become close, and there's not enough exposure on the national level, and there's not enough successful cases. So yeah, we have to support talents, and it's terrible things that I see sometimes. We have a school where we teach teenagers, and what's important, those who teach are those who are in the profession right now, right here, how they achieve success right here, right now. So let's be sharing with teenagers what we do. Yeah, give us content. We'll be thankful, and thanks for the opportunity, of course. Right. A great project, by the way. We will provide content, of course, because a way into creative industry is, of course, important. I've seen this data. They are scary, and they really, it's losing our potential. My elder son, if I check homework, if he's done it right, then the teacher says, checked it, or fact it. If there's mistake, they say, there's a mistake. They never seen encouragement. Good job. They don't encourage children. Foreign teachers, they always try to encourage children for successful work. So this crossing of industries, we're trying to make everything we can, because yes, it's great to unite industries. Not only by showcasing examples, but creating some interesting challenges. Like, for more than a year, we've been designing an NFT project, a crypto project, with Ukrainian artists, a consolidated pool of best modern contemporary art industry, artists and sculptors. And the goal of the project, we do it through our brand, Bevza. I am the curator of this brand, to show the world our contemporary artists and sculptors and photographers by growing NFT market. It's a different method of promotion of art. There's a lot of talent, but somehow they're not much regarded abroad. It's only singular had been successful, like world-renowned Ukrainian artists. Now with these modern technologies, you can create consolidated project, and for me it's going to be a great result if our artists, by selling NFT lot abroad and proper segment for an N plus amount, will be able to increase their liquidity here and on the international market, because they're worth it. There is a pool of people who deserve this. That's popularization of information on a global level about our talents. So I support that, uniting creative industries. So to resume this discussion, please set ambitious goals, because only ambitious goals will move you forward. If we used to start with the goal having 15 restaurants, having one restaurant already, that seemed like something unreal. Now we have 130 restaurants, and all over the world, and in Ukraine, the biggest amount is the biggest chain of restaurants. So it's going wide and far. All of our teams worked on this. If we talk about the school of people who care, we have 2 schools like that, but we want to have 100 schools in Ukraine. Then it will impact education, and our children and talented children will create the future. And in general, our goal of the holding is to be a world company. And we work with agriculture as an industry, and 2 books of these authors were sold in 30 countries of the world. It's a Ukrainian book, sold the rights for publishing in different kinds of the world, and those books have generated more than 100,000 euro of royalty in sales of these books. That's great. Who could have thought that you can make money on that? But that's really a business opportunity. So think big.
I believe that the best thing to do to bring creativity together is just do it. You know, find a way in which you can pull things together to the P&L, and in a way that is win-win situation for everybody, so everybody has a reason why doing it, and just do it. I think like and that's one way. The other thing is to just do it again, which is Nike, but you know, like
Yeah, I know.
yeah, I think just by doing it with the product, not talk about it, but doing it. For me, the best example always is the work. So if you have work that performs, if you have work that you can use for reputation, you can use for display, and so on. So for me, like this year, we participated at the Cannes International Advertising Festival, the Cannes Lion, and out of Central Eastern Europe, we won 22 Lions, including 2 Grand Prix from the Publicis Group in the region. And with work coming out of KIEF, with work coming out of Moscow, with working coming out of Bucharest, what else was there? Latvia. So, I mean, like, just do it. These are amazing platforms that give you visibility everywhere. And that just show what we were talking before, that you have the product here, you have the talent here, you have the capabilities here. Just do it. Just make it happen. It's as easy as that.
Super.
The walk is the best talk.
Супер. Супер. Дякую. І резюмуючи.
So to resume, if we see and look at the academic definition of what the idea is, it's a paradoxical connection of 2 seemingly not connected phenomena. And I think the essence of creativity is mixing things that it seems impossible to mix. And this unity of restaurants with architects, publishers with IT people. So have a great weekend, everybody, and create fantastic stuff.